What if I told you that there are human beings that look like you and me, but they're not human beings? There is this crazy theory on the internet right now that there are humans walking amongst us that are not like us. And this all starts in New Orleans with a woman who recorded a video, and I'm going to show you guys this video of a man that approached her, and everyone is saying that that is not a human being at all. While researching this topic, I found out that this is not something that just happens in New Orleans or in the United States. It's something that's been caught on camera in many other places, such as Haiti. So I decided to go deeper into this rabbit hole, and I came across videos of people who can supposedly shapeshift. They claim to have supernatural powers, to sometimes be immortals. I came across ancient texts about these things, stories, many of them.
People are telling these real life stories of, I met a vampire in New Orleans. I was bartending at a bar and I met a vampire. I took a ride home in an Uber and this guy told me about this vampire that I met.
In my head, I hear her voice telling me, don't be scared.
And videos of people who have recorded strange things that might actually suggest that there's something really strange going on.
So here's the full video. If you saw the story, you know, last night I saw something in the house that, as crazy as it sounds, to me looked like a vampire. I'm just going to show you the video. Here we go. Trying again. I'm hearing sounds up here.
Vampires? Human mutations? A hoax? A very elaborate one? And it dates hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. One of the most infamous story comes from New Orleans, the Carter brothers. So before we get to the ancient texts, the stories, and the videos, let's start with this specific video that's going viral right now of this woman who meets a man at a party. And this is what happens. So apparently she's having a good time and they're dancing. There's something going on with these eyes. If we zoom in, we can clearly see it seems reflective, and as many people state, this is not normal in human beings. Let's take a look at the comments. His eyes are reflective. Humans do not have that. Only animals, demons, or vampires. I don't know if demons or vampires exist, but I would say yes, animals usually have reflective eyes at night, and this is the case. But it could be contacts, as someone else states. But it is also scary, I had to agree with that. I've never seen that before, even with contacts. That's not supposed to happen, I guess. But is this the only time someone records something like this? I guess not. And this is in New Orleans, so wait a minute, let me take a look at this. New Orleans has a strong association with vampire lore, fueled by urban legends, historical figures, and popular culture, particularly in French Quarter. The most famous vampire legend involves the Carter brothers.
The tale of the Carter brothers, John and Wayne, dates back to the early 1930s. According to the legend, the Carter brothers were seemingly ordinary men who lived in a modest apartment in the French Quarter. They were described as quiet and unassuming, living a fairly typical life for the time. However, behind this facade, something far more sinister was allegedly taking place. The story begins with a young woman, disheveled and panicked, escaping from the Carter brothers' apartment. She fled through the streets of the French Quarter until she reached a police officer and told her horrifying tale. The woman claimed that she had been held captive by the Carter brothers, who had allegedly had over a dozen other victims restrained in their home. But this wasn't just an account of abduction or serial killing. What set this story apart was the claim that the Carter brothers were not human. According to the woman, they were vampires. The woman explained that the brothers would come home each night and feed on their captives. She claimed that, like herself, most of the other captives were weak and on the brink of Alarmed by the woman's report, the police rushed to the Carter brothers' apartment. What they found there only added to the mystery. Inside, they discovered several other captives in a similar state to the young woman. The Carter brothers were arrested, and authorities began to investigate the claims of vampirism more seriously.
So this has to be fake, made up, just a myth, right? I dig deeper into this vampire lore in New Orleans. I kept finding more and more information. I found stories, countless stories of people who tell about their encounters with these vampires or beings that look like us, but not exactly like us. And I also found videos of people who supposedly can shapeshift into what looks like vampires. And I found more information on these Carter brothers and that sort of stuff. Take a look at this.
Here's the full video. If you saw the story, you know, last night I saw something in the house that, as crazy as it sounds, to me looked like a vampire. I'm just going to show you the video. Here we go. Okay, trying again. Hearing sounds up here, like somebody's moving around. This stuff's been happening, but as soon as I pull my phone out, everything stops. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I swear I heard somebody up here. Holy shit. What? I don't know what happened. That thing vanished, and my camera stopped recording immediately. At the same time, it's gone. Here's a slowed down version of what you saw, brightened and close up. I'm gonna post a still. I'm not sure how well you can see it. It turned like an old man to the door, lurched forward, and vanished.
Comments are saying it looks like a gray alien, I guess. Another person says that is not a vampire, that's a gray. So searching for more of these strange encounters in New Orleans, I found this.
So how you're a vampire and you're 210 years old.
Correct.
How do you live so long? Do you drink blood?
We do not condone drinking blood. That is my default answer.
Now taking a look at videos like this, I'm thinking this has to be fake, but most people in the comments agree that there's something really strange going on in New Orleans. And digging deeper into this, I found countless reports of people who share similar stories of vampire-looking people with non-human traits, abilities, and supernatural powers. Now before we take a look at some of these stories, shape-shifting videos, that sort of stuff.
Okay. This is me in 19...
Make sense of all this? You ever bought a home with a hole? I advise go in it.
Não vi bem, faz de novo. Pode coisa, faz.
I think it's important for us to understand that this is not something new. This is something that has supposedly been happening for hundreds of years.
There's one really infamous story about how this lady claims, and she's a bartender, that the Carter brothers came into her bar. And the Carter brothers are infamous. Everybody has a story about them. They were these brothers in the 1930s in New Orleans. They were rumored to be vampires. Another famous example is Count Saint Germain, and people know of him as the man who does not die and knows everything.
Yeah.
Everybody's had sightings of him. People have claimed to have been seeing him since the 18th century. And he just like changes identities as time goes on, so people,
yeah,
you know, figure out he's immortal. There are thousands of stories just like this.
Wait a minute. So Count Saint Germain was apparently born in the 1700s, and as stated in the Wikipedia, he is said to have made far-fetched claims such as being 500 years old. Sightings of the Count after his death. He is said to have died in 1784, but in 1789 he was allegedly seen in Paris during the French Revolution. Theosophist Annie Besant wrote that he was spotted in 1821 bearing no signs of aging. In the 19th century, Helena Blavatsky claimed that he was still alive.
You might not believe it, but this might be an actual vampire in New Orleans. I'm sure we've all heard about the story of the Carter brothers that in the 1930s claimed to be vampires and eventually get executed. However, the story with New Orleans and vampires go a lot deeper and dark. Let me show you. In scripture, we find that the life of the flesh is in the blood, specifically in the Old Testament. And unfortunately, a lot of the occultists know about this power and this thing, where the blood is basically...
Yeah, that's Helena Blavatsky.
...in the material world. And this woman here is Helena Blavatsky.
Huh.
She, in fact, has some relationship with New Orleans, and let me show you.
Really?
Here, this is a symbol of theosophy, and I'm gonna be showing you who is also a theosopher. This guy right here is Jacques Saint Germain, the notorious guy from New Orleans who claimed to be a vampire. Now, the story with this guy goes is his actual name is Count Saint Germain, but he tried to conceal and hide his real name because he, in fact, was alive in the 1700s.
Wait a minute, this can't be real. So according to legend, this guy moved to New Orleans from France in 1902. He claimed to be a descendant of the Count Saint Germain. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in New Orleans, that's for sure. Wait. You gotta be kidding me. They all kind of look alike. Is he still alive? What?
Oui. Oui. Il y a 17 000 ans. Je bénéficie d'un produit qui est issu d'une technique et d'une science qui me permet de traverser le temps. Je parle 17 langues couramment.
And it would make a lot of sense that Count Saint Germain, who was said to be immortal, would actually be a vampire-like creature or a mutant or something like that. This is just one theory, but let's continue and see what we can find next. So I found this guy, Domo Draper. He has 1.3 million followers and he says he's a screenwriter. And he's got a bunch of vlog type videos. He talks about anything actually. But amidst his hundreds or thousands of videos, he's got one in which he states that he is not a human being like we are. And it all starts with this video over here. Someone asks, "You look 30 and 60 at the same time." And he kind of explains why he looks 30 and 60 at the same time.
What if I told you that there's a really good explanation for that? Allegedly. The reason why I may look 30 and also look 60 is because I'm both. This is me in 1944, 45, allegedly. This is me in the lobby of the Chelsea Hotel. I was waiting on Gordon Parks. If you don't know Gordon Parks, he's a world-renowned photographer, a musician, composer. He wrote books. He's actually one of the founders of Essence magazine. I did him a favor, and I said I'd go to my grave with this favor. I'd never tell anybody. Anyway, I did him a favor and he repaid me with friendship. So this is me just waiting in the lobby, waiting for him to come down. It was like a Great Gatsby themed party or something like that.
Some people believed his stories, some didn't, including me. But then he uploads 2 more videos in which he shows more evidence that he's not a human being like us. What the heck?
Let me explain something about fangs.
Please do.
This is the part of the video where everybody becomes a vampire expert, but those same people don't believe in vampires. Y'all humans are weird. Fangs are like your saliva. You don't salivate unless you smell food, you think about food, you about to eat some food. Fangs are the same way. Fangs are not meant to just pop out whenever. You know, this ain't True Blood. Like, stop with the movie.
Okay.
You force fangs out, it hurts, right? Because your body is not naturally opening up for the fangs to drop out.
Wait a minute. When he says that it hurts to force the fangs out, that they have to come out naturally. That reminds me of videos of these vampires, the supposed vampire beings in Africa, in Haiti, and other places. They all say the same thing.
Abre a boca, quero ver lá o fundo dos maxilares, tudo. Vamos, abre. Agora vai, faz a tua magia aí para sair os dentes. Não vi bem, faz de novo. Sem força. Pode coisa, faz.
Now I gotta be pretty honest here, I don't know how he's doing this, unless this is like a really sophisticated magic trick. At a certain moment you can actually see that he doesn't have anything in his hands, in his mouth. How does that happen?
Não vi bem, faz de novo. A ver que sem força.
The growling sound is even weirder, to be honest. There's also stories of people all over New Orleans who share similar aspects of these vampire-like human beings. But before we take a look into some of these stories in which people share the same kind of stories, same aspects, it's too much of a coincidence. They all seem pretty scared. They seem like they actually ran into something that they couldn't explain. Let's take a look at what Domo Draper did next, because people didn't believe in that video, so he did another one. Okay, there's nothing there. He's in the sunlight, by the way. What? Oh my gosh. Let's take a look at that again. Why does it move like that? That is just too weird. What the heck? Someone says phenomenal editing skills. Renee says, imagine if vampires were trying to come out and be real with us, but we just like you lying. On another video, Domo Draper shows how old he is. Check this out.
I kind of feel like the more I show you, the more you guys won't believe me. But it's okay. I'm used to this now. Hey, Mama. That's me. This is me in 1919, I believe. I was trying to be an actor. I've always been trying to make my way into film, even 100 years ago. I kind of switched over to screenwriting, as some of you might know, just because it's a hard industry to crack, you know. Back then, they didn't really allow too many black people in silent films, you know, so you really had to be animated to kind of let them know what you're capable of, you know.
So we got two pictures of him supposedly hundreds of years ago. According to him, this is 1944 and this is 100 years ago, and I would say that the photos kind of match, which is kind of crazy. It would be pretty far-fetched to believe in anything of this sort. Vampires? Immortals? Count Saint-Germain? New Orleans? What? But what about the coinciding strange stories that people share all over New Orleans?
I just decided to record a video. People have been asking me about the story, so here it goes. I'm a rideshare driver in New Orleans. So, of course, I encounter all types of people from all walks of life. So one particular ride was very interesting. Now, this was a couple of years ago when this occurred. And I'm going to tell you, for the most part, I remember what she said. I do not remember what she looked like. And there are some details that when the experience was over, like I had completely forgotten some things. I do know that we were having conversation. I talked to many of my passengers. And she is telling me I have really great energy. And then she proceeds to tell me how much she loved New Orleans, how much she loved being there, living there, etc., etc. I do recall asking her where she was from originally, and all she told me was that she was from very far away.
Very far away, yeah. I wonder where she was from, because this is one of the wildest stories I've ever heard. Take a look at this.
And it's funny again because I'm hearing her voice in my head as if this is weird. And I've never shared this story with anybody, so touched my shoulder at one point. And this is where things got really strange. She touched my shoulder, and I felt like I just froze. And even as I'm talking to you right now, I can distinctly remember that feeling of feeling frozen. And my hands were on the wheel because I could see my hands on the wheel. The car wasn't moving. And being frozen in that moment, I hear her voice, but not like I'm here talking to you. In my head, I hear her voice telling me, don't be scared, that she's not going to harm me. And then after that, we're moving again. And I remember kind of turning and looking like that. And she was sitting back in the seat and her hands were on her lap. And I said, what did you do to me? And she just smiled. And she says, I just leached some of your energy. And I said, what? She said, I just leached some of your energy. She said, this is going to sound crazy, but I can assure you it's true. I'm a vampire.
So apparently she's an energy vampire. Someone who steals other people's energy physically. But are there more people out there sharing similar stories?
Want to get creeped out? For those of you who don't know, I've been doing research on creepy folklore, creepy creatures, kind of from around the world. While doing this research, I came across real vampires. I read about a man named John Browning who was an American writer and scholar, and he actually researched real vampires for years. Now, no, these are not supernatural beings that can turn into bats and sparkle in the sunlight. I don't know how they feel about garlic. John had been searching for real vampires for a very long time, and he finally found one in a clothing store in the French Quarter of New Orleans. A woman came into the store with 2 teenage boys, and the shop owner let John know that this was the person he was looking for. John decides to strike up a conversation with this lady and let her know that he is studying real vampires. During this conversation, she did smile, which revealed 2 teeth filed down to look like fangs. John did give her his number, but she never got back to him. Luckily, a few weeks later, he met some more real vampires in a nightclub in New Orleans.
So I'm not sure if I believe in vampires, but there's a lot of encounters, strange encounters in New Orleans. Kind of reminds me of this first video that we saw at the very beginning of this woman meeting a man at a party. Unless he's not wearing contact lenses, there's something really weird about that, isn't there? Let's continue.
And a few weeks after that, he met what is called an elder vampire, and this was an older man who was a real living vampire.
So she goes on to explain how there are energy vampires and plasma vampires or something like that. And that's really weird because she's talking about these energy vampires. That's the same story that this woman shared while doing an Uber drive. There are other stories of people who share similar things in New Orleans.
Y'all got another story time. Living in New Orleans, seeing witches, encountering witches and vampires. First time at this restaurant, y'all. I'm with some friends and this chick that I was messing with, right? We chilling, eating, waiting on, I think probably lamb chops or something. We having a good time. The vibes is immaculate. We drinking, you know, vibing, eating, whatever like that. We in there for like probably, I say, an hour. The restaurant packed. Keep in mind, the vibes is immaculate as far as everybody that's in there. Okay, an hour and a half of us being there. I kid you not, y'all. I turn my head, peeping the scenery out. I look at the door. It's full witches of vampires that walk through the door. I'm kind of dripped down. They got on dresses. People got on heels. I look at them. They got on combat black boots, capes. Okay, they walk past me, like behind my back, to get to their table. Bro, when I tell you the energy that I felt from them females that walked past me, my whole body immediately got cold. I remember my body getting cold. I remember like the hairs on my neck and my arms stood up like as they walked past. Bro, we in a restaurant. 2 minutes go by. The whole energy of the whole entire restaurant changed, y'all. I cannot make this up. And it didn't dawn on me till way after that. This is an all meat restaurant. Everywhere I look, I'm seeing cows on the plate still mooing. Man, I really think that was vampires. The energy was cold, just like the other story time that I did. Like the energy as they walked past me was cold. Like,
now this kind of reminds me of another video when she talks about the energy feeling cold.
At the Vatican, I saw it. We were supposed to meet with the Pope, and I went and I met with several cardinals, I think the good cardinals, and I saw stuff that I had never seen before. That night, we were with, I don't even remember who they were, but they were the most Christ-like, cardinals and preachers or whatever they were. You could tell everybody's guard in that group, everybody's guard was up. And all of a sudden, and I'm not kidding you, the room dropped 10 degrees. And I happened to be looking at the door way across this huge room. And here comes this guy. So he was the main guy that, you had to get by if you were going to get to the Pope. And I said, holy cow, who is that guy? And the whole group of really nice guys turned around and looked at him. And one of them turned back and went, oh, you can feel that? And I said, oh, yeah. And they were like, oh, good sense on you. Oh, no, he's leading the opposition. So he's the guy, I think, that was helping thwart Benedict.
So there's just too many reports of people sharing these stories about these human beings that appear to have some sort of trait, some sort of supernatural ability that other normal human beings do not have. If they're vampires, mutants, witches, whatever you want to call them, it's weird. I want to know what you think. Is this just a very elaborate hoax? And this is all fake, a myth, a figment of our imagination? Or does it exist at some point and we're just not able to explain it? Leave a comment. Have you ever seen anything like this? Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and I'll see you guys tomorrow or maybe Saturday. See you then.